not letting me go. And sometimes I fell asleep, lying on the bleeding floor. I get woke up with Janice phoning me. Where are you? I said, John, won't let me go. I'm still sleeping on the floor there. Now, this went on for a long time. And it came to the stage that I couldn't take this anymore. I had to do something. So we talked with Janice, my partner, and we decided, okay, let's get John out of there as soon as we could do it. And then the barriers were put up in front. They used all sort of lies. Nothing about me personally, but they just didn't want John out of that place. Because during that period of time, I'd found out about John. I tried to do what a lot of people at the Quarriers and all the other organisations have, tried to access files. I had tried to get hold of John's files. Eventually I did, and in the files I found stuff. And it was blatantly in front of people to read. You know, there was what happened to John. But when you asked them, social work, none of them wanted to do nothing. They'd all walkabouts, passing the buck. Nobody wanted to interview anybody. Nobody wanted to get near this home. Nobody wanted to do nothing. Except I tried to expose what was going on in that home. And I'm going to talk a wee bit about the home. The Mallard was, when I went there, it's a lovely place, it looks nice, it looks apart. It's like two bungalows brought together with a centre area where the kids would spend time together. It looked lovely, but at the same time, there was something not right. One, I never got on with the people that worked in the place. Was that because I knew there was something going on? I knew John was being abused, but at the same time, you know, the abuse in a way kind of calmed down a bit, but he was still getting hurt. Massive bruisings on his body, taking him to a doctor, and there was nothing. The doctor would record all the bruising on it, but nobody knew where it came from. This is what you got all the time. And this went on and on and on. And it came to the stage where you were dreading going up to this home, because you knew when you went in, your boy was in trouble. We chased everything. We took on the local authority that bought the place, which was North Lanarkshire Council. They bought the placement in the home, they put John in the home, but they done nothing to protect him. We went to meetings. We got massive amount of detail, documentation, we had it all. It wasn't as if it wasn't there. All the documentation was there. But they wouldn't do nothing. We sat at the very top of the North Lanarkshire Council, a committee review I think it was called. And in that committee review, there was a panel of councillors. Now these councillors were more worried about what was happening to my son than what they wanted to do. To talk about me or my son. They just wanted to know why my son was suffering all these injuries. Now that went on for ages. We got the report back to the North Lanarkshire, and what did they do? Clean bill of health, no problems. Yeah, where did we go from there? So eventually we realised John was near the age of 16. Decided, let's get him out of there. So gave the warning, John's coming home to me, he's coming to stay with me. And I must admit, North Lanarkshire held me over the book. They couldn't do enough for me. I was taking John out of this place, we brought him home, had to get psychological help for him. A boy who for 9 months was up every night, standing at the bottom of the bed. He was taking, John being severe learning disability, he was taking, I thought were seizures, one of the seizures he was just going out. He was lying there with his eyes wide open at night. Me and Josh thought, what's wrong with him? We couldn't figure out what it was. So we brought psychologists in. They diagnosed mental, physical, emotional and probable sexual abuse in my son. They had to deal with that and bring him back. Now at the same time as that, as soon as I got him out of care, I had an opportunity then to go for evidence, take the local authorities on, and use what they call a guardianship. I applied to the courts about the guardianship. A couple of people tried to object to it, i.e. like the local authorities. The ex-wife wasn't happy about it, but hell, that my son was coming into my care. I needed the clout, as they call it, to go to court and fight using his name, fight in his behalf. He could not speak. So one of the hard things about it is there is hundreds and maybe thousands of kids out there who've got severe learning disabilities are living in care and they're suffering the same as yourselves, those of you who were abused in care. The big difference is they can't come and speak. Yous can. And yous are doing it well now, and it's coming for you, and it will come for you if you keep fighting at it. But these kids, they get nobody. I applied for a job once with a local authority, the Scottish Government, as a lay assessor, independent lay assessor, put forward by an MSP. And she thought because of what I knew would help me to go forward for his job. It's a great job, £27,000 a year. All I had to do was go out with the local authority or the care commission inspectors. They would do a report on a child or somebody that's phoned up being abused or suspected of abuse. I had to do the same. Now, one question I asked, who am I working for? He says, the Scottish Government. I said, but I'm an independent lay assessor. That's my title. He says, oh, no. I says, what do you mean, no. You have got to come to me with your report at the same time as the assessor comes in. I said, what happens with our documentations are all different? They believe him, they're going to believe me. That was it. And she turned in and she says to me, I don't think you're going to benefit for this job. I said, no, I don't think so. So that was the last. But that just shows you what goes on. There was a new care system set up, protection of adults in care. I'd been on the meetings, done everything for it, followed it through, and here we are. Scottish Government were looking after it again. They were stopping the search in their homes, make sure that when you got a home to investigate, you phone them first, and you tell them you're coming. I went through that, the registration inspectors. Told them to go up to this home and protect my son. What did they do? They phoned the home first. I told them they were coming. What was the point? And then they just said, nothing happened. John hadn't been touched. But I'm going to move on to there. Because we, myself and my partner, we kept the fight going. We used the guardianship, we used it well. I discovered local authorities had to pay attention to me. I had this guardianship, this documentation. This was good for all. This was it. They had to talk to me. They had to give me documentation. They were not allowed to keep documents away from me. I discovered when I approached North Lanarkshire Council, I says, I want my son's documentation because I want to know on paper what happened to him in there. I was told, just like a lot of you have been told, well, we don't know where they are. Then I was told they were spaced out the four corners of North Lanarkshire. Could you get them together? Well, we don't know. I said, look, either get them together or I take you to court to get them off it. And then discovered through a carer who worked with Dundee Council that there was an act, 1995 Children's Act, which meant that documentation had to be kept under lock and key for a period of 75 years. Now they didn't lose them, and they didn't space them all over the four corners. They were in an archive in Motherwell, where the head office of North Lanarkshire Council is. That is where they were. Still, there was a problem getting these documents. They didn't want me to see the official documentation showing what happened to John. So I threatened him, right, you get caught, I'll go to court with you in Hamilton if you do not hand over the documentation. He wouldn't believe me. I got a lawyer to do it for me. He was meant to help me, but what did he do? The day of my hearing, he dropped me. This was to stop him representing me in the court to get these documents. I received a phone call from the Sheriff, Sheriff Clark, Hamilton Sheriff Court, and she says, Mr. Shields, your lawyer's dropped you. Are you going to be doing this case yourself? I turned around and says to my partner, Janice, what do we do here? She says, go for it. We'll just say we're going anyway. So I phoned them back up. I says, send me the documentation. I'll fill it in myself when I come to court. So me and my partner, on the way down to Hamilton one day for the court here, North Lanarkshire Council didn't even know we were coming. They were standing in court thinking, oh, this is a freebie, this. There's nobody going to competing against us, nothing. Man, sitting there, the judge goes, is there a Mr. Shields in here? I said, yes, Your Honour, I'm here. You should have seen this man's face. He just sat there, and this lawyer was dumbstruck. And Janice, my partner, she says, did you see him run out this office? He ran out the court. And he went out and he made a phone call. And he come back in and the judge says, was there a problem? This was because I had turned up. They didn't think I was coming. Now, I went looking for another lawyer to deal with me when I found a Glasgow firm. And they carried on with going to get the documents. And great thing happened. 48 hours before going to court in Hamilton, what did they do? They handed over the documentation. Tons of files I didn't even know existed about my son. So we sat over a moon, got the documents. Me and Janice just sat, read through them, shocked. The stuff in there I didn't even know what happened to John. We had the documentation, we had it in place. So next thing we decided, right, let's go for the church. We needed the police. God help me. We needed the police. Police investigation. First police investigation happened. A great officer, but he was chucking it, he was retiring. He left us with details, told us, oh, I've been up to the Malab. I have interviewed members of staff at the Malab. He was met with orchestrated statements. She even said 7 orchestrated statements of members of staff within this home. So he come back, he says to me, the only other way I can thank John is I'm retiring. I can't see you getting anything here. Try civil action. That required the guardianship. So I got the guardianship, went for it, and that was me ready to go. So at the end of the day, we had a long, drawn out process of trying to find out what happened to my son. This went on and on. It came to the stage that, what's going to happen here? Police, they were non-existent. So what do? You get into the next field, which is, you go to your MSP. They're put in place to help you because you're a constituent and they'll do everything for you. So you're along meeting them. I know, I'll do this, I'll do that. I know the Detective Chief Superintendent, at that time it was Strathclyde Police. I'll write a letter to him. Don't worry, John, I'll get the information you're wanting. So you left it be. The next minute, along comes two, you could say Britain's finest. Come all the way up to Blair Gowrie to meet me and my partner. And this detective comes in, I always remember this one, he was got a suit, just looks like someone out the bill. He just comes in and he sits down and he's got this partner there and she turns around and she goes, you'll give us 3 weeks and we'll have answers for you. 3 weeks? I'm sitting here like 6 years later, trying to get one thing done. He's going to take in 3 weeks. So me and my partner are like, aye, on you go. So he says, I'll get back to you. Aye, sure. So here he goes. Direct his word. 3 weeks later he comes back again, him and the same partner, and they come into the house and they sit down. And they turn around and they go like that. we've been out and we've interviewed this, that and the next thing, and we've been to the Mallard and blah blah blah, but we can't find nothing. Oh, well, I said, I better tell you that before you went out the door. You weren't going to find anything. So that was 3 weeks. So he went away, and we went, I said, we'll need to go back to our MSP again. I can't use his name now, and I'll tell you why. But anyway, we went back to him again. He wasn't happy. You know, we met him in his office, we sat down again. He says, I'm going to get to the bottom of this. So he goes like that. He says, we now have Police Scotland. Oh, big police now. One police covering everything. Oh, I'll get someone out of this. So anyway, guess what? We couldn't believe it. He arranged a meeting in his constituency office, and who appears? The same bleeding detective that done the investigation before. So he turns up at the door with his sidekick, and she comes in and they sit down. And I'm like, I'm saying to Janice, what the hell is he doing here? I just couldn't figure out, what's the detective doing here again? He's been called by the high up in the authority of Police Scotland. He's an inspector from Porso, which is about 2 miles away from where my son was in the home. So he comes, and I'm like, I don't believe this. And I'm sitting saying to Janice after a meeting, what the hell is he doing here? Why would you appoint the same detective who done the investigation before? I said, I'm not having this. On the phone them up. I said, chuck it. Why? I said, I want you to hear this case. I said, you promised you would go and investigate. I said, when you done your first investigation, you never even had the decency to tell us where the hell you went to see. We had no idea who these 2 coppers had went to interview. He never even gave us document, he never gave us a letter, he never gave us nothing. Even when he finished the case, he never even sent us a letter. He just told us it was done. So anyway, we told him to go, we didn't want him. And yeah, he eventually done it. So the next minute, here, what do you get? I got a copper a wee bit higher up the line. He's a detective chief superintendent. So anyway, we waited again. They were going to investigate, they were going to go away, they were going to talk to everybody. Well, what happens? We're very hard getting documents for them. And the thing was, I said, look, see, it saves a lot of work and a lot of getting out and seeing people. Why don't I just come up to Porso and give you the documents and sit and read the documents? I said, then afterwards, do something. Me and Charles, for that time, we're getting a bit annoyed. We're not getting anywhere here. And these coppers are just taking us round in circles. Right? And we understand why they were doing it, but they were doing it so blatantly. So anyway, we went up and dropped the documents at the police station at Porso and says to them, right, there you go, there's the stuff. You don't need to go anywhere, just read it. A year. Almost a year. And we never heard nothing from them. So, I was a friend, I'm a good friend of a lady by the name of, you may have heard of, Sandra Brown from the Moira Anderson Foundation, which is based in Airdrie. Now my family John became the very first adult or child to be involved with Sandra. And Sandra's followed me for 20 years and what I've been trying to find out about John. And she's been involved, she's been in court with me, she's done everything for me. She's a brilliant woman. But anyway, we decided we would go and meet, as I call them, the old bill. So we arranged a meeting for down in Parkhead, right? Parkhead Cross?
Yeah.
The big police station down there. So on the way down there, we got a meeting. And we went into the meeting, and here were these detectives. And the detectives that had been reading the documentation. And we sat. And Sandra was great, she starts it off. Also, one of the good things about it was, I had a really good friend who was a newspaper woman. She was excellent. She'd done stories for me. With stories in the Sunday Mail, with stories in the Telegraph, with stories everything in there about John and about the state, about the cover-up, everything what happens to parents of children with learning disabilities who have no voice. So we were reading stuff that we had down at Glasgow. police station. So we're sitting there, and lo and behold, I've got all this documentation in front of me, which is all legal documents. So he says to Police Scotland, by the way, we've got a document here of a report done by Glasgow Registration and Inspection people. Yes, Mr. Shields, what's this? I says, in this, it speaks of my son being raped. It also speaks of a member of staff who had assaulted 3 other children. And they were like, where did you get this from? So I'm like, what do you mean, where did I get this from? That was in the reports that I gave you. Didn't you read it? Do you know, they went and took that report and went away and photocopy it. But it was there all the time. It's been there for 3 police investigations. And not once did they do anything about it. And we just couldn't believe what was happening there. Here we had the best that Scotland can produce, sitting there, not knowing that a man was in that home, was assaulting children, who had no defence. He was my son's team leader. And he wrote to my son. But they wouldn't tell me who he was. I can understand why. But at the end of the day, we had an idea who he was. We still got the documentation. I've produced it. I've given it an MSP. I've produced it to police. I've done everything. Now the funny thing about all this is, we are now 4 police investigations into what happened to my son. The last police investigation, believe it or not, was again initiated by an MSP for the 4th time. But this time he used the Lord Advocate's office. So we found ourselves dealing with Scotland's finest.
Or not.
Or not. 50 years a good one. But what happened was, here we are, we're meeting the Lord Advocate's office. Now we were invited to go through to Dundee, to Procurator Fiscal's office in Dundee. Lovely place, nice place. Myself, Janice, my sister. Was it just the 3 of us?
Yeah.
And we went through to Dundee. And we met, what's his name?
Stephen McGowan.
Stephen McGowan, that's his name. He is the number. Oh, here we go. We had this man, Stephen McGowan, right? So we went through and met him with some other lady who had something to do with the government. Can't remember her name, but she was with him.
Dalrymple.
Dalrymple, that's it. Dalrymple.
Sarah Dalrymple.
Right, okay. Right, so we met the 2 of them. Oh, and they were so angry about what happened to John. Couldn't believe it. And then, the worst words that anybody could ever say to you, leave it was, you'll find out. So, that was that. Now, that took 2 years. 2 years for the Procurator, the Lord Advocate's office to come back to tell me what happened to my son, what was going on. And I'm going to be honest with you here. I only found out last December.
Yeah.
And the report that came from him was shocking. And I said, I'm not accepting this. No, I've still got the report, the people that he was meant to have seen, what they'd done. They were going to do so many things to find out what happened to my son. It was unbelievable. But the report that was sent back was a disgrace. And I told him that. And I says, I want a meeting with you soon as Dundee again, please. So myself, Janice, and my sister, we met with the Lord Advocate's office again through the Procurator Fiscal Dundee, sitting in the office, and we were like, I'm not accepting this. Who did you interview? He sat there. You ever watch somebody when they're nervous sitting in a chair and they can't sit the same place? It was beginning to annoy me because he just kept swaying all over the place. And I'm like, Janice, what's he hiding? He didn't want to tell me nothing. Now, in one of the reports, as I say earlier on, my son was raped. He was raped at the age of 12.
Aye, 12 to 14.
I reckon it was once or twice. He was assaulted. He was on child protection in his first year in a Church of Scotland home. He was a mess. He was vegetating. He was getting in. He wasn't my son. I didn't know him. He was so badly traumatised in this place. Going up to see him broke your heart. I had a boy, as Janice would tell you if she was here, when we met when we met North Lanarkshire Council in his office, head of social work, Jim Gibb, his name was, North Lanarkshire Council. My son, in a Church of Scotland home, walked about a home with his back against the wall. He walked. I got up and I showed him this, showed this man what my son done. How he walked about with his back against the wall. He wouldn't go out the car when I took him back. Even though he was in care, we were in that shared care, I never gave up my son. I had access to him through the courts. Should never even have been in care. He stayed with me 4 months out of the year. And the other 8, I had to share him with the church. And nobody questioned that, nobody stopped me. I done it. And I wasn't giving him up. Anyway, in North Lanarkshire, standing there showing this head of council what my son done. And when he used to go back to the home, me and Jack, we couldn't get him out of the car. He was hanging on to the rest. And the power that a boy or a man with a learning disability, try to get him out of the car was impossible. This home had to come out and help me get him out. It took 4 or 5 days to get him out of the car. Then he'd walk up to the door, hands against the door, you couldn't get him across the threshold. And then when you managed, he ran away up the corridor, 100 mile an hour. I never seen a boy run. And that was him in his room. That is what happened to him. And then he went in there, toilet trained. He was wet in his cell. His feet was everywhere. It was impossible. Me and him, great Rangers supporters we are. I used to take him to the games with me all the time. He loved it. Even when he was in the home, I took him to the games. Do you know I couldn't even get him into a toilet? Any toilet. He would not go in. He would rather stand outside and wet himself than get into this toilet. That killed me, that he was doing this. Because in this home was a communal toilet, massive. This is what happened to John. He was seeing this, his focus book. He just would not go in this door. We had problems everywhere we went with John. And, when I got him at home, it was, we fought hard to keep him going. Years. We got him back, we got help. But it wasn't help through the local authorities, we could do it ourselves. We had to approach people to come and help with John. He had a great school in Cumbernauld. They had problems with him. They knew things were happening to him, but the local authority, as usual, shut it down. Then we knew there came a time when they weren't helping us anymore. They tried to take my son off me. When he stayed with me in Moodiesburn, they were coming after my son to get him away from me because I had police in, I had everybody. Now this is what happens with the state. They start saying, I'm a problem, we've got to stop this problem. Now me and my partner decided we were moving because an MSP, believe it or not, told us to move because she says, you ain't going to get any help. The local authority are coming after you. They're going to use whatever means they can to take your son back off you because you are a problem. So we moved up to Blairgowrie. But what we didn't reckon was when we moved up there that the problem was going to follow us. And it did. This was the state again. They were contacting Perth and Kinross Council where we live. And they were telling them, don't help this family. Do not help them. Don't give them any help. care, whatever. They fought the pressure of looking after a boy with severe learning disabilities, who at that time was very, he could be wild, he could be this, but he was my son. And Janice is his stepmom, but she treated him like her son. And we've done everything for this boy. But here we had this local authority, perfect in Ross Council, but helping North Lanarkshire Council to make the problems worse for us. I had to get an MSP to get help. It took 7 years to get one bit of help. And that was using the state against the state. The MSP, we got it. We got the help. It was a care package. Have you ever heard of care packages where social work would come in and count up how much it was going to cost? We got John a great care package. Must admit, the MSP at the time, he done his back, he helped us. And we got it, and it looked great future for my son. We got care in, they came and helped us, and we were getting on like a house on fire. My son, never in, out all the time. Me and Janice, the other part, was get our lives back together again. Go on with our life while John was enjoying his with a care team. Now, I spent 7 years with a care team, and that was fine. They come, they go, it's part and parcel of having a care package. They came into our home, we made them feel at home. I had the package, I got people in to do the finance, everything that you deal with a care package, that was all getting done. Above board, legal, no problems. John, having a great life. And 2.5 years ago, 2.5 years ago, 3 years ago now, the bubble burst. I still pursuing what happened with John with the police. I now have documentation in my possession of a police cover-up. I also have documentation in my possession of everything that happened to my son while he was in this home.
But the police think it's destroyed.
Yeah, says, well, they think that it's all destroyed. I get documentation from that superb officer that I told you turned up again. He wrote a letter to me telling me that it was all destroyed.
He destroyed
There was no documentation. He destroyed it.
Yeah.
No, he didn't. He's not told that. Church of Scotland, documentation from the Lord Advocate's office. No one else than the Lord Advocate's office. All documentation, David, destroyed. No, it's no. I've got it. And I've got a file that thick of every day that my son was in that home. The one thing I don't have is the logbook. There is a logbook that goes with children. The logbook has been denied to me. No idea where it is. It's been denied because it records every person who was in that home visiting my son. And I don't know where that is. The police, what's a logbook? Social work, what's a logbook? You know, I mean, this is what we're told. There is nothing. But anyway, the serious issues have just started. As my partner let me know there 3 years ago. 2 carers worked for me. I never had any problems with them. They made allegations up against me. It's crazy allegations, by the way. First allegation, I slapped my son 4 times in the stomach. That's it. Patted his stomach. When he come back for a holiday, he put on a lot of weight. And my son was saying, I never assaulted him. I patted his stomach. They said I slapped his stomach. They said I had attacked him with a toothbrush.
While brushing his teeth.
While brushing his teeth. They also said I shoved him onto a couch.
While changing his trousers.
While changing his trousers. So, you know, I was convicted of 2 out of 3. Patting him in the stomach. Well, they said I slapped him in the stomach. But the most serious thing about this is, this all took place in a court. Perth Sheriff Court it took place. Again, I had a lawyer who, while he's doing the case, he's more or less seeing the opposition and the sheriff in common and talking to me. Then he comes and he tells me just before I get to court, by the way, you don't have a right to appeal. I'm a right to appeal. What for? I'm not even being convicted. You're telling me I'm not a right to appeal. When the court convicted of things, you know the crazy thing about it, the sick issue about all this, in this state, and how they run the legal side of it, they changed the bleeding convictions. They, year later, hit me with convictions that I knew none about. A lawyer who's away, disappeared, didn't even interview anybody, never went out and seen who was making these allegations. Nothing. In court, we met a police officer who arrested me, told me that I shouldn't even be in here. Says this isn't what I deal with. He says to my partner and me, the only thing I can tell you about this allegations, it came from above, and they wanted you.
Yeah.
Now this is what a police officer says to us. Yeah, the two officers who took the statements after these girls, I have no idea who they are. They never appeared at court. Court was cancelled for them because one was on holiday and the other one was working. Get into court, they're sitting there saying, oh sorry, court's closed today, your case isn't getting heard. Why not? Police officers is away on holiday. I'm a police officer. These are police officers that took another statement months later, and I didn't know about it. We still didn't know about it until I was going to court, and then I found out that the allegations had been changed. And my lawyer done nothing. Now, he dropped me like a ton of bricks for my guardianship. He used things I can't represent you through a criminal case, and then on to a civil. He said you couldn't. So what did I do? He gave me 3 weeks before my hearing. 3 weeks to find a lawyer to show everything that's happened over the last 17, 18 years. I had to find that in 3 weeks. That was impossible. He stopped me from legal aid. He turned down and he told every lawyer that I contacted, don't touch him. He's not going to win anyway. And this was to take my son away from me. Now my son was taken away from me. I'm fighting to get him back. I've been in a guardianship case against the state, and it was a shambles. The lies and everything. I've actually stood there and commented about the crown above the sheriff's head. You know, what's the point of that? You're just giving a lie anyway. It was just an absolute shambles. I said, but I'm not going to stop. I will not stop. I took an appeal out. I never even bothered looking for a lawyer. I said, I'll do it myself. I had more fun that day than I've ever had. Up against two lawyers who I had a field day with. You know what I mean? Because that was great. And Janice, for the first time, was allowed in to see me in action. And even she said I done well. She had to drag me away from one of the lawyers at the end of it. But anyway, neither here nor there. I was brilliant that day, and I felt great. Because one, I fought for my son. I felt great coming out of that place knowing I fought for my son. Now you might say to yourself, why is this man here and he's not got his son? You know what I mean? I've not stopped the fight to get my son back. This is just a wee headache as far as I'm concerned. I will keep fighting to get my son back. Because one, I never done nothing. I wish they would change the laws. I took a polygraph test.
Paid for one?
I paid for a polygraph test. Because I used to think, I'm walking about, my friends, my mates, people wouldn't believe that I didn't hurt John. And I says, I've got to do something. On the internet one night, found this company down in Devon. Chap worked for the Metropolitan Police in London, and he'd done polygraph tests. Just phoned him up, I says, much is it? About £800 on it.
Yeah.
My family says, we'll help you pay for it. I says, well, it'll give me peace of mind because I do not trust the state, I do not trust the courts up here. I wouldn't give them the time of day now after what I've learned. I'll take the test. So I arranged, the man flew up for Devon, met him in Edinburgh in a hotel. I tell you, it's the most scary thing I've ever done in my life. You see it on the television, etc. At his worst. No, I went down there and I done nothing, man. I tell you, I was shitting myself. The whole day leading up to this. And when you get wired for sound, they wire you for sound. You get electrodes coming out everywhere. You're sitting on them. They're coming out your finger, your feet, you name it, this, that. Anyway, up past 99.98% innocent. That was the best thing I ever done. I've got that document. I produced it per Sheriff Court. Judge says it was too late. Too late for it. But he was accepting it. He was accepting it as evidence that I never done nothing. And the questions were basic. Did you hurt your son? Did you do this? Have you ever done that? That was it. Straightforward questions that you're asked. And I just sailed through that. And that was brilliant. And I've got the documents. I've even got a video of me sitting there, you know, getting it done, like just to prove to people that you actually see it. You get 3 copies of it. Oh, it's crazy. But, and as I said, when I get back to it before, I'd done a video before. I was videoed in a police. If anybody's been arrested, who's getting charged, they'll know that you're under. You get videoed. I get videoed. I get videoed of police asking me questions about my son. I answered the questions. But I didn't answer the questions. Because a bloody lawyer told me not to. He told me to say, no comment, no comment, no comment, no comment, no comment. To the extent that the police told me just to look here, was all good. What was that? He done me a disservice because I listened to him. And he just he left me high and dry. He's now been reported, which I don't expect any help with the Scottish Legal Complaints people or the, what do you call them, the Law Society, the Cracker Jacks, the institution. You know, I mean, these people, I just found out last week there that I can appeal against another committee. And I'm like, and she's like, well, there, just make yourself problems. You know what I mean? Just there. And I've got a lawyer, it's just crazy. This lawyer, he's done nothing. You know, he never asked a question. Through the court proceedings, I've asked a question.
What's that?
You paid £5,000 for my case, and they done nothing. No, it's been reported to Scottish Legal Complaints people because they actually told me to take, wait here, this one. They've told me to go for them because they didn't follow the rules of this medication. Now I'm waiting to see what they're going to say. They're just going to say, let me go again.
Is that what you're saying?
But no, this has got to stop. It really has got to stop.
But
We've been through it for years and years and years.
Try it and do
We've heard the same stuff, the same trouble. When I talk about MSPs, when I talk about lawyers, courts, judges, the judge in my last hearing is the only one who's actually stated that there's errors of law. There's errors of law throughout my whole cases. She even attacked the solicitors for the council and for my ex-wife because she wanted my son away from me. She's the only lawyer, and I'll tell you, that day she tore him apart, which was a surprise to me.
Judge?
This lady judge, she's a principal.
Yeah.
Sheriff principal.
Yeah.
And her job is just to make sure that the judge before done his job right. She's not there to help me, she's not there to do nothing like that, she's there to make sure it was done right. And she was great. But then she got tore into his lawyer. I'm like, on you go. And he's standing in her face, pure red. And I called him Kojak. Hey, pure ball deep, you see the red face? And he's standing there, and she's like that, she said, is it not right to say that all the evidence that you have actually brought against this man has no basis, no evidence? There is nothing to say that this man done anything. It's just pure hearsay.
And
Do you know what that
supposition.
says? It was. The whole flipping case was hearsay. But seemingly in a civil action, hearsay can't stand up. And it can't stand up in a criminal action. And that's all that was hearsay, because nothing ever happened. Yet here was me standing in a court of law with a judge who was having him. But we now come to the crux. I, being involved with the Lord Advocate's office, Mr. McGowan, I had to start thinking and playing Mr. McGowan. How can I use this man to bring forward my case about what happened to John? One of the main things concerning my son's case is I have never asked for a thing. Never once have I asked for anything. Money, nothing. It doesn't interest me. I'm not interested in it. I want justice for my son. Because my son was hurt badly in the Church of Scotland home by staff who were a disgrace. No, we name them, we shame them. I had to do something. So we took the Lord Advocate on again. And the fact this time was, he asked me, have you heard about the Scottish Child Abuse Inquiry? So I said, yeah, I heard about it. He went, I said, you ever thought of taking John? And I'm saying to myself, why are you telling me to do this when I've asked you to investigate what happened to him? Why ask me to go to the Scottish Child Abuse Inquiry? Couldn't figure out why. This man, who's so high up, is asking me to let him do the work. Because he did tell me he'll find out things that I can't do. And that shocked me.
That he can't tell you.
And he can't tell me. I'm going to tell him. As he can't tell me, because it's not within his jurisdiction to tell me these things. I said, well, to be honest with you, I've already done it before you've even asked me. Now, I have met, this is a good thing in its own format. I'm not telling people you should do it. What I'm telling you is, we've all got stories, but the stories we tell are so complicated. Nobody gets their head round them. Nobody understands them, because we're left trying to state so many things that have happened at one time that based over a long period of time, and they don't understand. Nobody understands. Do what I do. I says, I'll go for this. I phoned them up. I told them about my son, and they says, you're the one that we're looking for. I says, now don't get me wrong. I've kept myself in a position of, if this fails, I can still go back and fight for my son in court and all the stuff that I've learned through the state and all the stuff that I've tried to pull, etc. I can still fight it now. I've got more chance of fighting it through the state, but then I kept saying to myself, the state's going to stop me.
It's the state that's caused it.
They're the ones that's causing it all. I have done a 40-page document, and it covers everything from my son got into care to what happened to me, because that is part of the remit of this, is what happened to you, me, everybody involved with the abuse side of it. We've all been affected. We all talk about being affected. We know we were affected. Me, I've had 3 bouts of counselling. I've been in hospital, getting counselled. I'm coming off antidepressants because they make me more depressed than what I was before. But I've been on them for 20 years. I had to go on them. because I was an exorcist myself way to go. Otherwise, what we said, you don't get treatment, you're going to kill somebody. That was that. And I would have. When my son was raped, I nearly had a gun. It was £300. I was getting it down in Duke Street in Glasgow, out of a pub. Out at that time, I knew a lot of people. I knew a lot of felons. And I knew how to get a gun. And I would have done it. I had a drink problem as well. If it wasn't for that lassie sitting up there, I wouldn't be here. She pulled me out of the gutter. I was drinking heavy. I had the problems. But I wasn't abused. My son was. And you're abused. God, I don't know how to feel for you. You know what I mean? It is hard. You know what I mean? Just surmising what happens to you when you're around care. It's shocking. You know, it's absolutely shocking. I see it, I hear it, and I go like that. This has got to stop. Janice will tell you, that's my first words now. This has got to stop. It can't go on. We cannot go on allowing this state, these local authorities, and I'm going to be honest with you again. See, the local authorities, they are the problem. It is not. It is not MSPs, police. They are governed by the local authorities. That's why the local authorities, the people who run the local authorities, have got the biggest wage in this country, because they run it to what they want to see. This inquiry, I know, and a lot of people will tell you it was done because of the pressure that was put on the Scottish Government. That was only after the British Government and Jimmy Savile. That is the only reason why they've done this. You people would have been left. You people that suffered the abuse, you would have been left to get through another 10, 20 years of this. They wouldn't have done a thing for you. Me personally, if you want to talk more about this, if you've been abused and you still want people to talk to, help you through this, the people I met that done the Scottish Child Abuse Inquiry, I'm going to admit, they were brilliant. Never met them before in my life. 3 meetings that me and my partner Janice had with them in Blairgowrie. They came to see us. I didn't go to see them. They hired a room in a hotel. They made us feel great. They sat down. They talked us through everything. And here's a crazy thing. I've had 4 police investigations. I was in their company for 20 minutes.
Yeah.
I showed them documentation concerning my son being abused in a home by an attendant district officer who worked for North Lanarkshire Health Board, who attended an emergency phone call at my son's home. She arrived, I've got the documents, she arrived at that home and she carried out an internal examination of my son in this home, in the presence of a doctor who was there in an advisory position. And they showed a talk shot my son's anus to see where I'd been raped. And when we met the Lord Advocate's office for the second time in Dundee, I asked for her to be arrested. I said, get her arrested. He says, why? I says, he's covered up, she has covered up the abuse of my son. She done the abuse. She assaulted my son. She never even took him at the home. They never took him to a police station. They never took him to a hospital. They never took him to a health centre. They carried it out in the home. And I asked for her to be arrested. And as my partner will swear, see, within 10 seconds, that woman was dead.
So he says.
So he says. Quick flash, oh, she's dead. And I left it, and I'm like, I don't believe this. You see, these people, they turned round after about 20 minutes, half an hour. he says to me, we will phone or write a letter to Police Scotland, ask them to come and visit to you for the first time, because all the other police investigations were done under MSP or local authority. Never through me. Never once did I ask. They were already done. But they were getting controlled in what they were doing. They wrote to Police Scotland 10 weeks ago. It was about 3 months since this was done. They wrote to Police Scotland and told them to get out to me and get me interviewed and get these people. Forget that she's dead. Go for our bosses. Because they're still alive. I'm still waiting for Police Scotland. Because the first thing Police Scotland are going to have to do when they come
Investigate themselves.
is to investigate themselves, plus the Lord Advocate's office. Because he has just left his cell wide open. The documentations are there to put them down. Now I'm going to finish up because I think you're all hard and you'll probably get fed up listening to me. Listen, I'm going to back his 100% and everything that he's doing. I'm going to come to meetings because this is my second speech. The first speech was in 2000 at the Scottish Parliament itself, and I was invited by the Moy Anderson Foundation. That was in front of, I don't know, many organisations, a lot of them organisations. And they told me to keep the fight going and don't stop. I'm not to talk to anybody about their abuse, how they want, if they want help and ideas on how to go forward. I will certainly do the best I can. As I say, but let's get forums here, and take them on. Because there is a way
Wasn't that fantastic? Everything that we're fighting in one speech.
no problem.
I was amazed, John, that you mentioned Stephen McGowan.
I wasn't.
We know Stephen McGowan very well.
Well done.
Robert Green knows Stephen McGowan very well.
Yes.
Part of the Holly Brent case was that the final decision not to do anything about the Holly Brent case was taken personally by Dame Elise Angelini, the Lord Advocate. And this information was passed to Robert in a phone call by a woman in the Lord Advocate's office. Whose name will come back to Robert or me. I know it well. Now,
No,
not capturing now. So, Robert named this person as a witness at his trial. Head of the Secretary. So she said, and this has been denied by Dame Elise Angelini many times. She said that Dame Elise Angelini personally took the decision not to do anything with Holly Gregg's case. Right? It was officially independent Crown Counsel, but it wasn't. It was Dame Elise Angelini personally. Remember, she was the fiscal when the main allegations were made in Aberdeen, so she goes right the way back in this case. Now, the day Robert, because of health reasons and because of the legal system, Robert was prevailed upon to plead guilty because he was told that he was going to be convicted anyway, and the only way to stay out of jail, and at this point it's become a health concern, was to plead guilty. The day he pled guilty, Stephen McGowan wrote to him to say that that conversation where the person from the Crown Office said that Dame Elise Angelini made that decision, that never happened. But he waited till the day that Robert Green, to the hour Robert Green pled guilty, the hour he knew that that woman wouldn't be called to the stand to plead under oath.
Yes.
That hour, he said it never happened. Not the hour before, that hour.
Yep.
So I wrote to him and I said, never happened. What does that mean? Are you saying that Robert Green never spoke to this woman? And we gave you the list. Are you saying that the woman did speak to Robert Green but never discussed the case? Are you saying that they did discuss the case but she never said that about the Lord Advocate? What do you mean never happened? Silence. I never received a reply. Stephen McGowan and the Crown Office and Procurator Fiscal Service of this country have got a hell of a lot of questions. But we'll have a wee bite of lunch and then we'll carry on. Thank you very much, Leonard.
Not letting me go. And sometimes I fell asleep, lying in the bleeding floor. I get woke up with Janice phoning me.